happily studying away in the library when she felt a hand come down on her shoulder. She looked up, and her eyes sparkled. Dad immediately jumped onto him, wrapping her arms around him. Hey Kay, how are your studies going? Learning anything interesting? Izuku asked as he quickly hugged Kay back before petting the snakes in her hair. Yeah, super interesting. Kay let go and picked up the book she was reading so she could show it to Izuku. Did you know that baby rabbits are called kittens? Is that so? Izuku sat down, ready to lend an ear to Kay's spew of animal tidbits. Yeah, and also rabbits can't vomit. Isn't that weird? Kay asked before continuing. And also dash. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Yonda and Yami were in the game room, playing around in Tekken 20. Well, I like winning and feeling like I'm better than other people, so I was looking for ways to do that without doing my usual thing. Yonda explained as she played against Izuku. So Amai introduced me to video games. Cool. The game announcer announced as Yonda's character went down. Well, it looks like you still have a ways to go. Izuku chuckled as he started giving Yonda head pats. Yonda pouted but still leaned into her father's touch nonetheless. My turn, Yami said, taking the controller from Yonda. You've been practicing your gaming skills a lot too. Trying to get as good as am I? Izuku asked as he selected his character. Yami nodded. Well, best of luck to you on that. Izuku encouraged him. It's not gonna be easy. I know. Gonna do it anyway. Yami said with an edge of determination. Partners have to be equals. Partners, huh? Izuku looked over at Yonda, who looked utterly exasperated. Wonder what that's about. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX the flowers in the greenhouse, alongside Eri and Otoko. Eri nodded as she took care of some weeds. We worked really hard. I'm glad all the flowers turned out so pretty. Otoko nodded while he watered flowers next to Izuku. Gyarrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrrr. Everyone looked at Eri, who was blushing after her stomach rumbled loudly for everyone to hear. Well, I guess that's my cue to make lunch, Izuku said as he got up and looked over at the apple tree. And since you two worked so hard, why don't we use some of the fruits of your labor? Kay, at that moment, felt overwhelming joy, for reasons that would remain unknown to her. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXX. You know a benefit of being rich that I don't hear people talk about. You can create whatever meal you feel like making, Izuku said as he, Fuku, Hinata, and Inu were working in the kitchen. Yeah, it feels like I can make anything. And every time I learn how to make something new, it just feels really good, Fuku admitted as she chopped up potatoes. It makes you feel more useful. I get that. Hinata sympathized while she cleaned the chicken. Thank you for teaching me all this, sir. No need to thank me. I'm just happy to have you girls help me out, Izuku said while he cut up the cleaned chicken. I'm always happy to help, big brother, Inu told him happily while she dealt with the apples. I'm happy we can eat so many different kinds of food too. I didn't know just how much food could change your mood until now. Food is one of the most important things in life. Aside from being something you need to survive, it can majorly affect pretty much every part of your life. Izuku explained. Your mood, your health. Eating something bad can ruin your entire day. And having a good meal to look forward to can make a bad day easier to handle. Remember to keep that in mind whenever you're planning a meal. Yes, sir. All the girls said. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX she, Izuku, and AKA watched a hero fight on the news in Izuku's room while eating their recently cooked lunch. She's everywhere online. People won't stop talking about her. I don't get it. You'll understand when you're older, Izuku told her. One might think he said this because of the specific appeal MT Lady abused. But that was only one reason. The other was because the reason Alice kept hearing about MT Lady may not be because of pure popularity, but because she was a pretty controversial figure. Izuku knew, better than most, that MT Lady was a hero. Through and through. She did her job as well as she could. She was more than willing to put her life on the line and give everything she had to protect the people and take down whoever would wish them harm. However, she was also very unsubtle about being money-hungry and a bit of an attention seeker. She gave off a very bad first impression, and many people thought of her as a fake hero. Hence controversy. Yeah, take that. AKA cheered as she watched MT Lady step on a villain. Again. Ahahaha. It's nice to watch these together, right? Izuku asked as he took another bite of his food. Alice nodded. Mommy didn't always have time to watch these with me. So thanks, Mr. Midoriya. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX currently in the fashion club's clubroom, wearing a matching set of peculiar clothes. A pair of black and red suits, with long flowing capes and big shoulder pads. Not as dapper as Yukiba, Izuku told her, having well gotten over the embarrassment of wearing such weird outfits by now. Besides, it's not like this was anywhere near as embarrassing as wearing women's clothes in a girl's body. The shoulder pads are a bit big. I'll have to make some adjustments, Shiruka said as she looked over them. I think it's fine. Big shoulders for a big person, Hiba said, posing proudly. Okay then, wanna try walking through a door? Shiruka asked cockily. Hiba looked over at the door, and then at her shoulder pads. Touché. Waho. Netsa cried out as he flew through the air as fast as he could. Whoa. 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 Lo was right behind him, energy blasting out of his shoes as he flew, struggling to keep himself stable in midair. Careful. Izuku warned, flying behind them. He'd asked Shina to give him access to the rappel quirk once again, so he could properly follow these two during their flight training. Infiwa. Lo accidentally raised his foot too much, causing him to start rocketing down towards the ground. Le. Izuku repelled himself down towards Lo, barely getting under him in time, and catching him before he hit the ground. Phew. Thanks, Mr. Midoriya, Lo said, blushing with embarrassment. Alright, is there anything you don't understand so far? Nara asked. She and Kyoku were in the library, the older kid mentoring the younger one. I get it. I get it, Kyoka said, before letting out a long yawn. Nara looked at her. I think we should end it here today. You look tired. What? No, I'm fine. Kyoka perked up and pouted. Well, we can't have that. Kyoka looked up and saw Izuku entering. Daddy. Izuku promptly went in and scooped her up into his arms. Alright, time for a nap. I don't need a nap, Kyoka cried as she tried to worm her way out of Izuku's arm, to no avail. Well, I do. And I want you to join me, Izuku told her. Aka mi piaca, fine, Kyoka said as she continued to pout. Izuku, I'm back, Ochiko said as she came into Izuku's office, still wearing her UA uniform. But she was met with silence. Izuku. Ochiko quickly realized that his office was empty. He's not here. Maybe he's playing with the kids. Better check his room just in case. She walked over to the door and opened it up, entering his room and finding an utterly adorable sight. Izuku, asleep on his bed, with Kyoka sleeping at his side. Himiko snuggled up behind him, knees at his leg, and Sansan wrapped around them. Ochako couldn't help but smile, quickly pulling out her phone and snapping a few pics. Sansan woke up, perking up her head and looking at Ochako. Join. Sure, I'm pretty tired, Ochako said as she set down her bag and went to join them. Okay, so hear me out. What if the reason Blue Blur can move so fast is because instead of super speed, his quirk controls kinetic energy? Like, he causally absorbs any kinetic energy and then releases it when he runs. Interesting, and you think it only works when he's in motion? Izuku asked. But even then, he can still get hit, even when he's running. And that's what I was having trouble figuring out. But then I wondered, maybe the problem is size. Maybe his kinetic absorption only works when what he's hitting is small, like tiny pieces of rubble or air particles. But if it's something big like a fist, it won't work. Or maybe it has to do with how heavy and solid it is. Maybe that would make some sense. Would that mean that Blue Blur could take bullets so long as he's moving? Izuku mused. G's eyes lit up. Oh, that would be amazing to see. Although I doubt we could convince him to agree to an experiment like that. Unless everyone has a price right. Sis, we're not going to ask Blue Blur to get shot, Izuku told her with a sigh. Splash. Ko always thought she'd enjoy swimming. She never really got the opportunity to do so when she was with her handlers. Sure, they taught her how to swim, but they taught her in a dingy facility with water that smelled like it had more chemicals in it than it did water. And her teachers were harsh and made sure the whole thing was as unenjoyable as possible. Then, once she learned how to swim, they never let her swim again. That life seemed like a far cry from what she had now. Now she could swim whenever she wanted to, so long as she got permission and had an adult watching over her. So now Ko was swimming in a beautiful lake, filled with fishes and crystal clear water that felt good against her skin. And holding her breath wasn't an issue either. After all, she'd been trained her whole life on how to keep her mouth shut. Izuku swam beside her, giving her a look that asked, "Are you having fun?" Ko quickly nodded. She was right. She did like swimming, and she was glad they didn't use the pool. I'm glad you boys decided to help me cook dinner, Izuku said as he, Jin, Odo, and Yami worked in the kitchen. You didn't give us much of a choice, Jin muttered as he peeled carrots. If I have to do something, it might as well be making yummy food. Learning how to cook is useful, Odo thought. Consoling himself, he stirred several pots. I really need to hire that cook, Izuku thought. Normally, Izuku would have the kids, at least the ones who needed to sleep, in bed soon after dinner. However, seeing as Izuku wanted to spend more time with the kids today, he decided to make a bit of an exception. As such, he, Ochako, Oki, Fu, Ko, Seikyo, and Kai were all out looking up at the stars. By now, Izuku had gotten his scientists to get rid of that pesky light pollution problem, at least around here, so the night sky was especially beautiful. I actually really like the stars, Oki admitted as he lay on a blanket next to Fu. Oh, Fu asked, urging him to go on. They're so pretty, and I don't have to worry about eating them, Oki explained. Oh yeah, I guess that makes sense, Fu said. Achiko had set up a telescope and was showing Ko and Seikyo what she could. And if you look over there, you can see Saturn. Achiko told them. Astounding. It's incredible that something so simple can show me something so far away. Seikyo marveled. Ko rapidly tapped on Seikyo's shoulder, silently urging her to let her see. Meanwhile, Izuku laid down next to Kai as they looked up. Dad, could I fly to the stars one day? Kai asked. Well, not by yourself. Space is beautiful, but it's also pretty much the deadliest place you'll ever see. Izuku explained. That's why astronauts need all that special equipment and those special suits. So I can't do it? Even though my body is super tough? Kai asked sadly. Izuku gave him a sad smile and a reassuring pet. No. But maybe one day I can take you up there. Really? Thanks, Dad. Kai purred, rubbing his head against Izuku affectionately. Oh boy, what did I just promise? Izuku thought. He had a feeling his scientist wouldn't appreciate that. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX exhausted. He'd had a rather draining day after all, but in a good way. However, despite it being bedtime, that didn't mean his job was done. He walked past Fuhai's room and heard something that instantly derailed his plans. Crying. Immediately, Izuku entered the room and found Fuhai obviously having a nightmare, crying and flailing around in his sleep. Go away. Fuhai cried in his sleep. I don't want to die. Please. Fuhai, wake up. Izuku shook him awake. Ah. Fuhai screamed as he woke, jolting upright as he flailed his arms about. He was sweaty and hyperventilating. The poor boy was having a full-blown panic attack. Easy. You're not dying. You're all right. Grab my hand. Izuku told him, rubbing the circles into the boy's back. Fuhai grabbed his hand and squeezed, using the sensation of Izuku's kind touch to bring himself back to reality. Deep breath, son. Just go steady. Izuku encouraged him. Eventually, Fuhai managed to get his breathing back under control, and the attack subsided, although the boy was still pretty shaken. Died. Fuhai stuttered. I died again. No, you didn't. It was just a nightmare. Izuku assured him in a gentle voice. It didn't happen. Maybe I should have had that memory erased. Izuku thought. No, that wouldn't help much. He already doesn't remember much of it. It's not how he died, but that he died at all. I guess I shouldn't expect all kids to handle that as well as Eri. After a couple minutes, Fuhai fully came back to reality. Where is Fu? He's eating a late-night snack. Do you need him? Izuku asked. Fuhai thought about it. On the one hand, he could really use the extra comfort Fu provided. On the other hand, he didn't want Fu to not get enough food and go all zombie mode. And no, thank you. I wet myself. I see. Izuku held in a sigh and gave Fuhai a kind smile. Well, that's alright. Let's get you cleaned up. XXXXXXXXXXXX. After changing the sheets, getting Fuhai cleaned up, and then getting him into a pair of new pajamas, Izuku put him back in bed. Thanks, D-Dad. Fuhai stuttered, looking shyly away from Izuku. You don't have to call me that if you don't want to, Izuku assured him. I don't mind, it's just weird. Fuhai muttered. Well, if you need time to get used to it, then take as much time as you need. Izuku said. Now then, I doubt you can just go back to sleep right now, right? Fuhai nodded rapidly. There was no way he could go back to sleep right now. Alright, then why don't we do something else? Izuku said. The door opened, and Sue stepped in, tossing Izuku a book, before taking her leave. How did she know you wanted a book? Fuhai asked, very confused by the weirdly convenient timing of all that. Because she is very good at her job, Izuku said. Well, in truth, He'd shot her a text while he was cleaning him up and coordinated this whole thing. But that was less fun, and keeping up the mystery would help the boy's mood. Alright, would you mind me reading you a story? Izuku asked. Please. Fuhai said. Okay. So Izuku was about to begin when Fuhai interrupted. See, can I hold your hand too? Fuhai asked. Izuku smiled. Of course, son.